Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you about the lyrics from Havamal, the Shadow Chapter, out May 21st on Artgates Records. This album has 9 tracks, 48 minutes in length, and this is the band's second full-length studio album. They are a Swedish melodic death metal band. And if you're into Viking stories and Viking-themed death metal, this album is definitely for you. It's a very engaging album from that perspective, and it really keeps you gripped to it from the opening track all the way to the closing. It's just an album that has great mechanisms. When you look at the structure, it moves seamless from song to song and allows you to feel like you're part of this journey, perhaps almost a character within it. So this makes everything move a lot better, a lot more fluid, a lot more dynamic, a lot more linear, if you will, but still giving you different perspectives from track to track. It's not an album that is cohesive from that perspective. It doesn't offer you one single look, one single feel with one song and then just kind of copy and paste that into every single track of the album. No, this album offers you different looks, different glances, definitely different sceneries as you move from song to song. The elements are all the same. The same elements you're going to get on the first track, you're going to get on the second track, on the third track, fourth track, and so forth. It's just how they come together, how they're mixed together, and then the impact that the story and the lyrics have on each and every specific song really changes your perception of the track and what you're getting. In some songs, the soundscape also changes because there's other variables that come in to add different flavors in order to better represent the lyrics of that specific song. But overall, it's an album that just moves forward, giving you different looks, giving you different views, going up and down, but always keeping you engaged, always keeping you connected, always keeping you moving, adding to great playability, great fluidity, and a very interesting record all around as far as the construction and soundscape is concerned. Within that soundscape, because I really felt like it's one of the elements that really helps the structure of the album, and the structure of the album definitely helps the soundscape. But within that soundscape, there are 3 elements that become the pillars, the cornerstones of what this album is going to offer to the listener. One is the orchestration, the other is the drums, and then the guitars. If you look at the orchestration, out of the 3 is perhaps the most consistent one of them all. It's consistent in the quality that provides to the songs, it's consistent in the volume that creates, making the tracks a lot bigger, more cinematic, really helping the lyrics come to life and jumping into the forefront, and also the atmosphere that it permeates and stays consistent across every single track. You always feel like the orchestration is doing exactly the same thing, song in and song out. It may not sound exactly the same, it might not take exactly the same approach, the same roadmap on every single track, but what you're going to get out of it as far as quality and what you're going to get out of it as far as the end result stays very consistent throughout the whole album, really making this a much bigger sounding record, a more well-defined album, and once again really having a positive impact in the playability and in the storytelling aspect of the record itself. The other 2 elements, the drums and guitars, are perhaps a little bit more diverse. I wanted the drums to be heavier all around. They have some heavy moments within the record, but they're not consistent from that perspective. And when you have an album that has this cinematic approach to it, that sometimes almost levitates, you need something to keep it grounded, song in and song out. More often than not, the drums did that, but there are a few tracks on this album where I felt like the drums didn't have enough strength, didn't have enough power to really bring the record down. I wanted them to be more of a consistent bass line throughout every single song in order for everything else on the record to be able to live a little bit better, to levitate a little bit better, and have a little bit more life within it. And the album would still have a lot of heaviness and a lot of aggression coming from the drums on a consistent basis. To me, that's just the missing link, if you will, on the overall design of this record. Then you have the guitars. I love the guitar sound on this album. It has a lot of diversity of approaches, of execution, of sound, and they kind of go exactly where the story is going, and they kind of go exactly where the lyrics are taking you. So they're almost the perfect partner to what is happening from an orchestrational perspective and overall atmosphere as far as each and every single song is concerned. I love the chunkiness that they have at times. I love how driven, how melodic they are, the power that they have, and more often than not, I like how they guide me within the tracks. They really become my guide, letting me know exactly where my starting point is, what my road ahead is going to be like, and where is my destination. So I love the guitar sound on this album. I love what it has to offer, and I love the fact that it changed ever so slightly from track to track and not just go with one size fits all approach from the beginning to the end. It would become a little bit redundant, it would become a little bit repetitive. On top of it, you have really aggressive vocals. That's perhaps the most the most linear element as far as aggression is concerned, because what you get in the first track, perhaps not the first song because it's an intro, but the second song is exactly what you're going to get all the way throughout. The aggression, the delivery, the tone, the intensity, all of that staying super consistent from top to bottom, and it's one of those elements that really glues the record. And I wish like the drums paired up with the vocals in order to give you two elements that offer the same consistency. But the vocals did that. They did offer that consistency that I wanted out of the drums. It's there in the vocals, and it really helps balance out the record. It really helps give the album a little bit more strength, a little bit more power, a little bit more of a push forward. Overall, this is a very interesting record. I like how this album is put together as far as the structure is concerned. I like a lot of the things that they did as far as the soundscape goes. I just wanted the soundscape underneath the atmosphere created by the orchestration to be perhaps a little bit better defined in terms of what the roles were going to be. And that doesn't mean that the role has to be exactly the same role on every single song, but I wanted some more consistency out of the drums, and I wanted the guitars to implement themselves better within the overall soundscape so it doesn't feel as raw as it currently does. This is an album that you really find that above the atmosphere is really well defined, below the atmosphere is a little bit more gritty and a little bit more raw. So sometimes there's a clash of sounds, there's a clash of personalities, if you will, between all of the elements that create the overall soundscape of this record. As far as songs are concerned, I want to start off with Fenris. Great guitar sound, great drums, great orchestration, all three elements really pushing this track together in a very balanced way, perhaps the most balanced song of this whole album. I love the atmosphere that they create, I love the power that they have. A track that always moves forward. The backing choirs work really well, adding vocal power to the overall power of the song. A song that already had power and aggression in the vocals, but the backing choirs really made them feel a little bit more cinematic, a little bit bigger, and that was an interesting aspect because it matched everything that was happening on the musical side. This allows the song to be more epic, to be more driven, to have better atmosphere, and just a bigger track all around. Empire of the Ashen Sun is an interesting song because it offers a much different soundscape and atmosphere from anything else on this record. It has a very unique delivery, and that atmosphere permeates into the soundscape, and then the soundscape permeates back into the atmosphere. So these two elements kind of become one, and they all set themselves apart from everything that came in the album up until this point and everything that's going to come afterwards. I just love this combination of experiences and how things work well together. A very linear track all around. I didn't feel like it had incredible ebbs and flows or ups and downs. It stays very consistent across all the elements. The guitar playing is phenomenal. Outside of that atmosphere, outside of that soundscape that merges with that atmosphere, the one element that jumps into the forefront is definitely the guitar playing. It's just phenomenal. I just love how it sounds all around, but when it gets to the solo stretch, it just blows your mind. They took a lot of what the song had in store for you as far as the musicality, as far as the atmosphere is concerned. They incorporated in the solo, allow it to become even more present, even more noticeable, even more palpable, making the song bigger and really giving you what the essence of this track is all about. I love this song from that perspective. Last but not least, The Curse of Grendel. Really interesting song from a guitar approach. Once again, very driven, a track that really pushes itself forward, and the guitars guide your experience as far as where you are, where you're going, and how you're going to get there. The vocals bring in some heaviness, they bring in some aggression, and it's needed in order to balance out the overall atmosphere that this track has, the overall sound that this song has. The drums help at times, they peak and then they drop. They're not consistent, they don't offer enough consistency as far as heaviness goes. That consistency is really coming from the overall vocal approach, and then the guitars are just dictating the direction that the track takes. So that's kind of how this song works, and because it has the drums coming in, adding more power, dropping out, taking a little bit of that power away, that's where you're going to get the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, the different eyesight or the different perspectives that this song will give to the listener. Really comes from how heavy it is at times and how much of that heaviness goes away in others. So it's a song that has that dynamic approach from that perspective, and the drums are giving that life, that up and down, that heartbeat, if you will, to the overall track. Some of the folky elements of this song are really interesting as well. I thought it worked really well in the overall texture of the track, and it gave a little bit more life, a little bit more depth to the overall soundscape of this song. Really interesting track, one that really comes to life, and when you pay attention to the lyrics, where this song goes, it's exactly where the lyrics are taking you. So the musical side of the track is a pure representation of what is happening in the lyrics, in the story that it's being told. I love the mixture of those two worlds, and that helps with that up and down fluidity of the track overall. this is it. This is Havamal with the Shadow Chapter out May 21st on Artgates Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those again and back to you. Take care, guys.